Welcome to the February 10th, 2014 Troy City Council meeting. We are pleased this evening to have Councilwoman Huderick provide us with the invocation this evening. If you would please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance after the invocation.
Father God, please be with us all, a community with over 80 languages spoken, multiple faiths, diverse interests and priorities, a place that is a great place to raise children, to work in, to play in, a blessed community. We ask you to be with us all, especially those that are serving our community through our police department, our DPW, and the many staff members that keep us safe through the infrastructure needs that they meet on a daily basis. Please guide us with our decision-making tonight, that we may make the best decisions for the common good. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Owen. Troy City Council meeting is now called to order. The roll call, Ms. Bittner.
Mayor Slater.
Here.
Councilmember Campbell.
Here.
Councilmember Fleming.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
Here.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Here.
Councilmember Pennington.
Here.
Councilmember Teets.
Here. All present. Our first order of business is certificates of recognition and special presentation. C1, we are honored this evening to have the 2013 A Healthy Me as a Drug-Free Pledges presented by the Red Ribbon Chairperson of Troy Families for Safe Homes and student representatives from Troy School District. They will be introduced by Community Affairs Director Cindy Stewart. Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you want to just pull that down a little bit? There you go. I guess there isn't a need for an introduction unless you want to introduce.
Actually, Ashton Hochul, he was going to tell a little bit about the history of Red Ribbon before we get started.
Great. Hi, Ashton. How are you?
Good. How are
Good
you?
evening.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the history of the Red Ribbon. Kiki Camarena grew up in a dirt-floored house. He worked his way through college. He served in the Marines. He became a police officer and joined the United States DEA. They sent him to Mexico to investigate a major drug ring. On February 7th, 1985, he was captured by the drug lords. Sadly, he was tortured to death. Friends and neighbors began to wear red ribbons to remember him. Anti-drug groups started to form. The first Red Ribbon celebration was in the fall of 1988 in Kiki's memory. Now, every October, many schools and communities in the United States take a stand against drugs. They wear red ribbons, sign their names on pledge forms, and sing songs about being drug-free. We would like to share one of these songs called Walk Away and Just Say N-O No.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashton. And I just want you to know that Ashton, he plays all kinds of sports, and he's a straight-A student at Hill Elementary. And I'm so grateful. A lot of the kids here tonight had to take a little time away from sports and studies because they know how important this is. And also, I'm going to ask if you wouldn't mind singing with us. We'll go through the chorus one time, walk away and just say no. But last year, you did a fabulous job. So we'll try it again. And don't worry, you got the kids backing us up, and they're fabulous. Here we go. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. It ain't cool, don't be a fool. Walk away and just say, and oh no. alcohol and cigarettes aren't the best for any of us, you see. But especially for children whose minds are forming and bones are growing. No, you just say, and oh no. Come on, guys. No, 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 no. Good. No, 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 no. It ain't cool. Don't be a fool. Walk away and just say, and oh no. When you are on your way home from school or at a football game, if someone tries to tell you that drugs are cool, it's time to use your brain and just say, and oh no. No, 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 no. Let me hear ya. No, 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 no. It ain't cool. Don't be a fool. Walk away and just say, and oh no. I said walk away and just say, and oh no. I mean walk away and just say, and oh no. Give the Troy City Council. And that was one of the songs that the kids sing during Red Ribbon Week. And my name is Elisa Tyson, and this is Mindy Within, and she and I are the co-chair people. And Meliz Melvin is the president of Troy Families for Safe Homes.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us here. We enjoy coming every year. And I have to say to Elisa and Mindy, they keep us running, and it's flawless of what they do. And I just want to tell you a little bit about what we do. We focus in the elementary and the middle schools. In the elementary schools, the kids do songs, they do stories, they do crazy things every day. They'll wear crazy socks to sock it to drugs and put a cap on to keep a cap off of drugs, and they just do a bunch of activities. In the middle school, the kids, and then they sign these pledge forms, and what they're saying is they're not going to do drugs. They're smart, they've learned, drugs are bad for them, and they're part of the Troy community, and they're not going to do drugs. In the middle schools, they sign the pledges, do some other activities, and then they get licorice. So we are just so happy to be here. The children are going to bring the pledge forms up for you, that it's not all of the Troy schools, but somebody just asked me, I think the participation in the elementary schools is probably close to 100%, as well as the middle schools. So if the kids aren't there for the day, they might not get the middle school, but otherwise we're about 100% participation. So thank you so much for having us again this year, and we will see you next year. The kids are going to go up and give the pledges.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Liz.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks. Very much. Thank you very much. Lots of signatures.
Uh-oh. All right, well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all the hard work. I wish we could read these this evening, but I think we have too many. But I'm going to pass mine around so everyone can see it. I'm going to keep the licorice, though. Our next order of business is C2. The City of Troy receives Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, and will be introduced by Tom Darling, the Financial Services Director. Good evening, Tom.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for this opportunity, which is a tough act to follow that one, so I'll try and make this pretty brief. But I wanted to bring to your attention and this opportunity to announce that the city did receive the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the 2013-14 budget, as presented by the Governmental Finance Officers Association. It should be noted that the city has not submitted for this award since the 2009-2010 fiscal year, basically due to our reorganization changes during the recession years. So typically when you reapply or for new submitters, you typically don't get it for that first year. So we are very pleased that the GFOA has seen the great work that went into this and recognized it and gave us the award. It should be noted that this award, along with the city's comprehensive annual financial report and the popular annual financial report, makes this the triple crown, really, for financial reporting and disclosure excellence. We receive all 3 awards. Just to let you know, from what I can tell based on the GFOA website, we're really one of only 3 cities in the state of Michigan that receive all 3 awards. So that's some pretty rarefied air, if you will. You know, we talked a little bit last week on bond ratings, didn't we? And it's these kind of endeavors and these kind of venues and commitment to excellence that helps us secure our AAA bond rating. Finally, I'd like to thank Beth Tashnik and Justin Breyer for doing a lot of hard work in putting this budget together. And finally, the City Council in working with city management and making this a live working document. Also, since I've got your attention, just let you know that we are issuing the 2013 Popular Annual Financial Report, which is slated to go into the Troy Times in the February 20th edition.
Great.
Good job.
Thank you, Tom. Great work as usual by everyone on staff. Congratulations, Brian. Any comments? Thank you, Tom. Great job. We're going to have a C3 this evening. It's not on the agenda, but we are honored this evening to have some special guests with us in the audience. I'm going to ask the Chief Mayor to come forward and provide us an introduction and maybe some background on our special guests this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, I believe everyone's aware that Captain Keith Fry recently attended the FBI National Academy. It's part of our whole commitment to make sure we have highly trained police professionals. As a result of that, Keith has made a contact that we want to take the opportunity to introduce the City Council tonight. So I'll turn this microphone over to Captain Keith Fry.
Thank you. Captain Fry.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I just wanted to take a few minutes this evening to introduce you to 2 gentlemen here. I have Senior Inspector Sun Hoi Gong and Senior Inspector Sang Hyuk Seo of the Korean National Police Agency. And as Chief Mayor mentioned, I had an opportunity to meet Sun while we both attended the FBI National Academy. Several weeks ago, I received an email in which he was requesting assistance. He had an opportunity to do some research into some of the best practices and collaborative efforts of law enforcement agencies in the United States. He indicated to me today that he received 10 responses back, so he had 10 different agencies to choose from, and he picked Troy as one of them. He was in California last week, right? San Bernardino, California last week, and they came to Troy this week. We've already done some introductions. We took them around. We showed them some of the best practices that we've employed with some of our partners, federal, state, and local, and I think it's been very productive for them. And I thought in introducing him that Council and Mayor would probably offer him a warm welcome.
Thank you. Come on up, and welcome to Troy.
English is, I mean, but English is better than what he I think he hears better than what he speaks, but please.
Well, I think the common talk that we have between all of us is that you're always welcome in Troy, and thank you for coming here. I think it's the weather. How do you like the weather here?
Before we came here, we thought that the weather would be so severe, so we packed a lot of clothes. But in Korea, we also have 4 seasons and the winter, so I think we can stand this weather until now.
And last thing, the chief of police department said this meeting is very informal, so join that, but he lied, so I'm very...
Well, welcome to Troy. I think, as you know, we feel we have the best police department in the country. We are the safest city in Michigan, and it's a credit to our police department, and I'm sure you'll get a good education being here. And thank you for coming.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Before can I say about, or can I speak something?
Sure.
Could you give me a time to
Sure,
speak?
yes.
thanks to Chief and Case, I think we are running a lot here. In Korea, in our system, we have very competitive relationship between agencies and departments. Here we are learning about the collaboration and cooperation.
Right.
I think that would be very helpful for our government future. And it is our honor to be here to see how council is working directly. It is really our honor. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you once again for coming. And I think if you spend some time here, you'll see how everybody works well together, and that always makes it easier to solve crimes when everybody works together. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. There are no carryover items this evening, so we will move to public hearings. Our first public hearing is E1, a rezoning application, proposed professional/medical building west of Rochester, south side of Colebrook, 3545 Rochester Road, from R1C, one family residential district, to CB, which is community business district. So I will open the public hearing, and good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Slater, City Council. As you indicated, Mayor Slater, the property is located on the south side of Colebrook, west of Rochester Road. The parcel is about 10,500 square feet in area. You see an aerial photograph here. It's zoned R1C, one family residential. Now I would note, and I'll get into this in a slide that's upcoming, the applicant owns this entire parcel. It's actually split zoning, and 3545 is one parcel owned by this applicant, but it's what he's proposing this evening is to rezone this to CB, which will make it consistent with the frontage as well as the property to the south. I'll get into a little bit about that. I got about a 2-minute presentation here. This is what I was talking about. There's a timeline here for this property. The applicant intends to rezone to CB and construct the medical office building on the property. And offices are permitted by right in the CB district. Now, in 2012, on February 14th, 2012, the applicant was before the Planning Commission for rezoning to CB, and the Planning Commission recommended denial of the application. The reason being, at the time, these are two separate parcels, and it was looked at that because this parcel here already had a frontage on Rochester Road, this would be a second parcel in terms of depth that would have access entirely on Colebrook with really no relationship to Rochester. So it was looked at as kind of infringing a little bit on the residential neighborhood. So they were instructed to consider purchasing the property to the east on the corner, which is a remnant parcel that was owned by the city of Troy. They had to go through the purchase process, so on the public purchase process. On July 8th, 2013, the property on the corner was acquired by the applicant. September 9th, 2013, it was combined into the large parcel you see now, which is split zoning. And then on January 14th, they were before the Planning Commission for a public hearing. Planning Commission recommended approval of 8-0. So that's all you ever wanted to know about the history of the parcel and more. On the screen now is a future land use plan from the master plan. You see it calls for the Rochester Road classification all along both sides of Rochester. Now this is a conceptual drawing. You don't scale it out, but what it clearly does show is there's a, you kind of shoring up this roughly this depth of the commercial zoning. So it does call for commercial zoning along Rochester Road. And then if you dig a little bit deeper and look at the zoning, you see this is kind of like last man standing here for single-family residential. You see the die has been kind of cast all along here. You've got generally consistent depth, and then you've got this last outcast here. It's been vacant for some time. I don't anticipate it being developed for single-family residential as it has commercial zoning on the south, on the east, and on the north across the street. So it does make sense to kind of shore this up and make this line consistent. The applicant has submitted a concept sketch. Basically, the intent of this is to show that it can be developed as proposed. They are talking about an office building, and as you can see, it is possible based on this simple sketch with the office building on the front and parking to the west between the office building and single-family residential. In terms of the overall CB district, this is my last slide. A couple things to consider in terms of potential impact for the rezoning if it is zoned to CB. The maximum height in CB, 2 stories, 30 feet, which is it's the same as R1C. So we're not going to have a massive building next to residential. Sidewalks, they're required on Rochester and Colebrook. They're already constructed on Rochester, but they'll be required to construct a sidewalk when it's developed on the south side of Colebrook for the entire length of the property. So there's no sidewalk there now, so it will make it safer for pedestrians, at least in front of the building on Colebrook. And finally, they will be required to screen between the building, the parking lot, and the single-family residential neighborhood to the west. So with that being said, the application meets the standards for rezonings in section 1603C of the zoning ordinance, and city management recommends approval of the rezoning application. I can answer any questions you got.
Any questions for the administration? Councilman Teets?
Just how many feet of buffer along the west property line on the concept drawing? I just didn't catch it quick enough. I apologize.
Keeping in mind it is a concept drawing, looks to be about 10 feet.
Yeah.
But again, it's a sketch, and the details will be ironed out when we get an application.
Sure. Thanks.
Questions for administration? Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
In the letter we got tonight, it mentioned going back and forth to school every day. I don't recall, on that street, is there a crosswalk there on that street, or where is the crosswalk? I think there's a light. Is that near Torpy? Or where is that in relation to that particular piece of property?
I didn't zoom out enough. I can tell you this, Councilman Henderson, is there's existing sidewalk on Rochester now in terms of getting kids to school safely, and there's a section of sidewalk here along Colebrook up north of the property. As I indicated, they will be required to put sidewalk here, and I spoke to a representative of the DPW today, actually, and he indicated that we have a GAP program that the DPW works with, and because if you can see up here, there's a sidewalk that goes to the north into this neighborhood. He said this would be a perfect situation for the city through the GAP program to kind of pony up a connection here when this one's put in, so it will be able to make a logical connection to the sidewalk to the north.
Okay. In follow-up on
Sure.
on that particular street, as they walk from those homes over to the school on the other side of Rochester Road, what would be a typical pathway for them to? Is it logical that they would walk to Rochester, maybe head south, cross at a light? Is that typical morning traffic, or not necessarily for kids that might walk?
I'm guessing they're going to go to the closest. They're going to cross the closest available lighted intersection, which I don't know if it's north or south. I'd have to look.
Okay, but that would be more logical than just bolting across Rochester.
I have 2 kids. I would hope so.
Okay.
Any other questions? This lot has been vacant for as long as I can remember, and it's been zoned residential, correct? Nobody's ever built on it.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Savage, I noticed that you signed up to speak on this. This is a public hearing. You can speak now if you'd like to.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Yeah, this is an area I'm very familiar with. And I have reasons why I would oppose this rezoning. And one of them would be the traffic congestion on Rochester Road. And this is a problem that I've been familiar with for probably over 20 years. And it doesn't get any better. And also the safety issue here is that Colebrook is the main route for traffic, both bus and school bus and pedestrian, to Wallace Elementary School. And I'm wondering, has the applicant considered all the empty existing buildings in Troy as a location? And it seems to approve a rezoning before you revisit the master plan would be like putting the cart before the horse. And also to lose one single-family property so close to an elementary school doesn't seem to make sense, because this whole city was basically built on single-family occupants. And the reason why it's one of the last isolated lots in the area is because similar lots have come before council before, and they have been swallowed up in the same manner. So we keep losing these single-family lots as the commercial lots keep expanding from Rochester Road. So basically that would be my objections, and the lights and the traffic is another situation which I'm still familiar with and working on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. Has that lot ever been put up for sale as a single-family lot, and what would be the asking price on that?
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on this item this evening? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, return it to the table for a resolution. Councilman Teets?
Am I correct, the lot doesn't belong to the city? It's owned by the property owner now, right?
Correct. Councilman Fleming?
Mayor, I'll move the resolution for this rezoning application as printed in the agenda.
Second. Moved by Councilman Fleming and supported by Councilman Campbell that we approve the resolution as printed in the agenda. Discussion. The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Good luck. Next is E2, a zoning ordinance text amendment for assisted living facilities, ZOTA-246. And Brent is ready for our next public hearing. I will open the public hearing. Good evening again.
Long time no see.
Yes.
City Council will remember the Oakland Troy Senior Project. It was an assisted living facility that was approved, received preliminary site plan approval from the Planning Commission November 26, 2013. During the site plan review process, many residents expressed concerns about the potential for an assisted living facility being constructed in adjacent to a single-family residential neighborhood, especially on interior, not on the actual major thoroughfare. So during a couple of meetings, city council members expressed concern about this, and based on the comments, the Planning Commission developed draft language to address these concerns. And I would note that the language was created, reviewed, recommended for approval, and put in front of City Council about as fast as state law and city policy would allow us to do. So, and it's basically intended that the draft provisions would ensure that assisted living facilities would not have a detrimental impact on single-family residential neighborhoods. So to summarize the revisions that are before you this evening, there's really 5 significant changes. The first is to revise the definition to specifically include memory care. Secondly, assisted living facilities in low density and medium density neighborhoods are to be permitted by special use approval. That does a couple things. One, it triggers public hearing for Planning Commission. And it also raises the bar in terms of standards. The applications, besides meeting all the standards in the ordinance for site plans, they also have to meet the special use standards, which are relatively higher. Thirdly, there's a minimum lot area of 3 acres. Fourth, and this is a really important one, is the projects would require not only frontage but also all access on major arterial streets, mile roads, basically. And finally, and this is another big one, there's a 50-foot greenbelt buffer required when they're adjacent to residential property. So when you take the whole picture, these really will have the effect of really helping to protect single-family residential neighborhoods, and put together a map that shows you the potential properties that could be utilized for these types of facilities. The blue properties are permitted, as I indicated, in our R1C, RT, and CF districts. They're generally closer to, adjacent to single-family residential neighborhoods. And you'll notice that, first of all, there's not very many of them. And you'll also notice that a lot of these are utilized as churches, as public facilities, and you know, for example, I'm fairly confident that the Whitechapel Cemetery isn't going to be developed anytime soon for assisted living, and you could go through this and kind of pick it apart. The green properties are properties that will remain permitted. The assisted living facilities are permitted by right. They are higher density residential, residential districts, as well as commercial and industrial properties. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for the administration? Councilman Campbell.
Those blues are all 3 acres or more?
Yes.
Councilman Campbell, or Fleming?
Yeah, thank you. Just one question. It relates to access to major road frontage. We currently have an assisted living senior care facility off of John R., just north of 14 miles, an American House. It sits in behind an apartment complex. Now, the property doesn't immediately, border that road, but it does have access to 14 Mile with its own connecting road. I'm not sure its relationship to other residential. Would that have been allowed under this zoning?
Under this zoning, it would not be allowed.
Okay. Because we have one that I don't want any unintended consequences. I know a lot of work's been put into this, but right now, the major road into there does come off of John R., but it doesn't front John R. It's in behind another complex. So under this zoning, that would not.
That specific development would not be permitted because it wouldn't meet that standard. Yeah. But it's legal non-conforming, so it can continue forever.
I think that's a good point, though, that there may be some areas that, and I'm sure that if somebody wanted to apply, we could take a look at that to some degree, I would assume, to do that. Just a couple comments from me. I certainly appreciate the quick response to Council's request. Thank you to City Manager Kishnick and your staff and City Attorney Bloom for getting back to us so quickly. Greatly appreciated how quick that got back to us. And I appreciate the map because that makes it very easy for me. When you look at the previous map and you compare it to this, it's like night and day. And I think it's very useful, at least for me, to be able to take a look at this and see that this is the way it should be. And I think even doing what we did, the assisted living at Adams and Square Lake would still have been permitted with these exceptions.
That's correct. It actually, as you are aware, Mr. Mayor, it actually fronts on 2 major mile roads.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this item this evening? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, return it to the table for a resolution.
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
I'd like to move the resolution as printed. Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Henderson, supported by Councilman Pennington, that we approve E2 as printed. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Spittner.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teetz?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, staff. I don't see that anyone is signed up for public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents or businesses, so our next order of business will be regular business as there are no postponed items. I-1A, there are no mayoral appointments this evening. There are no city council appointments for boards and committees, so we will move to I-2, and that's nominations. It's okay. There are no mayoral nominations this evening, so I will turn the microphone over to Mayor Pro Tem Henderson for council nominations.
For the Historic Committee, we have 3 nominations. The first one, Barbara Knight, for a term expiring March 1st, 2015. Vacancy for Hugh Stephen Doyle, who had resigned. The next one would be Al Petrulis for a term expiring March 1st, 2017. And Barbara Chambers for a term expiring March 1st, 2017. That's it.
So there is one other position that will be nominated at a further date.
Future date, right?
Future date, okay.
Support.
Okay, moved by Mayor Pro Tem Henderson and supported by Councilman Fleming that we nominate for the Troy Historic Commission Barbara Knight, Al Petrulis, Barb Chambers for the terms, well, Barb Knight for the term that expires 3/1/2015, and Al Petrulis and Barb Chambers for the terms that expire 3/1/2017. Discussion. The vote, Ms. Bittner.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teetz?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Motion passes. There is not a request for a closed session this evening, so we will move to the consent agenda. Is there anyone at the council that wishes to pull a consent agenda item this evening? Anyone like to move the resolution? Councilman Campbell.
I'll move the consent agenda to be approved as it's written on the menus.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Campbell and supported by Councilman Pennington that we approve all items on the consent agenda this evening. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teetz?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Motion passes. If you were here on a consent agenda item this evening, they all passed. Next is memorandums and future council agenda items. K2 is a memorandum submitted for Pure Troy, the mowing maintenance that was included in the packet this evening. Thank you for that. I don't see anyone that signed up for public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents' businesses.
Mayor?
Savages.
Mayor?
Well, I'm looking. I didn't go down far enough. Mr. Savage, you wish to speak this evening for an item not on the agenda from Troy residents? Good evening.
Good evening again. Okay, I'm referring to the council's decision at the last meeting, which I was unable to attend, but I did watch it on TV. And I commend the council for their decision not to approve the rezoning for the apartment building on Town Center Drive. Now, I have witnessed so many times in the past years comments from council members to Troy residents like, "We understand your position and we sympathize with you." And then they vote against the residents in favor of the developer. This kind of situation occurred so frequently and affected so many residents all over Troy that a huge gap developed between the residents and the city government. A look at the election results from about year 2000 to 2010 showed a frustration amongst residents that resulted in many good council members being voted out because of unpopular management policies. Too often it seems that for residents, the rules are strictly adhered to, but for developers, we are prepared to bend or circumvent the rules or write new rules. When I bought my house in Troy 38 years ago, I found what I was looking for, a modest house on a half acre with trees and open spaces. That is what attracted me to Troy. From the day I moved in, I knew I never wanted to leave. My 4 grandsons attended Troy schools here. This is where our family roots are. But I would be devastated if someone bought the property behind me, took down the trees, and built a 3-story building near my fence. I hope that when you study the master plan, you will consider the concerns of the residents and the common good ahead of special interests. Now also, I'm looking at the agenda, and there's an item here on 12 strategies, and number 12 says, increase lines of communication with Troy schools. Well, as usual every year, I'd like to announce that we have the dance at the Troy High School. It's put on by the Student Council. It is a great event. And how close a connection can we get in dancing with the students? Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you. It concludes those that have signed up this evening for public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. There are no council referrals this evening, so we will move to council comment. Any comments from council this evening? Next is reports. Are there any comments on any of the reports that were in the agenda this evening? No one signed up for comments on items on or not on the agenda from members of the public outside of Troy. There are no study items, no closed session. We are adjourned. Thank you for coming this evening.